And I remember like, and I've watched some of your other videos and people even saying this, but I didn't know who to trust at the beginning, Sean. Like, because you're in such a state of fear that you don't really trust anything. You can't even trust yourself. Um, so when someone tells you, "Hey, I can really get you through this issue you're having. I can really alleviate these problems you're having. I can really get you to see the bigger picture." The first thing you're thinking is like, okay, well, just like, please, please, please help me. But in the back of your mind, you're like, this it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to work. Like, I remember waking up one night or waking up from a bad dream one morning, like 2 weeks into the program. And I'm like, are you sure this is the guy to listen to? Are you sure this is the program for me? Like, I mean, it just seems too good to be true.
All right, welcome to the channel. I have an amazing recovery story. I have Calum here. Calum is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And what's really interesting about Calum is when I first met him, he was unrecognizable. The person you will see moving forward is not someone I saw when he first joined the program. Calum was at a very critical stage in his anxiety recovery journey when he first came to me. He was struggling so badly that he wasn't sure if he wanted to pursue working or if he should stop working and get this addressed. And so he was at a very important juncture. And what we ended up doing was he ended up investing in himself and joining the mentorship. And as a consequence, well, he'll tell you, but short story, he goes back to working, he's living great, and I don't want to really spoil anything else. I want him to be sharing with you his recovery story. Check it out. I hope you enjoy. What's up? Welcome to the channel. I have a member from the Bye Bye Panic mentorship, someone who's had a really inspirational story, and I asked if this person could hop on and really share his story, hopefully to inspire you guys. And this is someone the mentors have been requesting to get on the channel for a while. And so I'm really glad I got to get him on finally. I wanted to introduce everybody to Calum. Calum, how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. Calum, okay. So before we get started, let's start off with really during your journey, what was like the most debilitating symptoms that you were really experiencing, or what was really throwing you off when you were struggling with anxiety?
Well, man, I got to tell you, I've experienced just about every symptom you can experience. But when it comes to what really threw me off and really put me into that state of sensitization, I would say dizziness, faintness, and probably worst case scenario, derealization. Those three symptoms right there were were the main problem in this whole journey for me. It's really got everything started, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. No, I remember having all those symptoms. There's so many sometimes. It's like one of those wild things, right? So let's go ahead and go back to the very beginning. How did all this start for you?
So, you know, most of my adult life, I've had a little low level anxiety. As you know, I kind of think that everyone does to an extent, whether they realize it, they're aware of it or not. Um, I always had a little bit of a little low level anxiety. I remember in particular, in the latter stage of 2020. So after the pandemic, when the once or 2019, I'm sorry. So when the pandemic was yet to start, but we were nearing January. I remember I started getting these bouts of dizziness, and I didn't know where they would come from. I didn't know why I was getting them. Of course, when you're dizzy like that, you get into that mode of, what's wrong with me? So a lot of health anxiety started to come across. Um, I remember like calling my dad one day at work, and I'm like, Dad, I'm feeling dizzy. I feel like I might faint. I have no idea what's going on. Maybe it's my blood sugars. Maybe I'm diabetic and I didn't know it. Maybe I've got some kind of brain tumor. So, being a hypochondriac most of my life, just always being aware of like how I'm feeling most days. Obviously not hyper aware like I was in the anxiety cycle, but I would always kind of like do check in on myself a little too much. Anyway, so I ended up going to the doctor and they told me off the bat that it was probably just anxiety. And so from there, I just kept getting dizzy. I kept feeling faint. And then I ended up getting a CT scan. Everything came back normal. My pituitary gland was fine. It was healthy. I ended up going to get an EEG scan, an EKG scan. Everything still came back normal. I even went as far as getting some blood work done on multiple occasions, and everything came back normal yet again. So I finally got into the understanding that it was just anxiety, but the problem was I still wanted to fix it. You know, I still wanted to see what I could do to make it so I felt better. You know, and one staple of this program that we were in was like, you know, short term comfort's not as good as long term freedom. But it took me a while to understand that, and at this point, I still hadn't, you know, come across your videos or come across any of this information. So, um, you know, when I felt dizzy and I felt faint and I felt, you know, I even had panic attacks. And I think going back even much before 2019, I did experience my first panic attack where it was mostly nocturnal for me. So it was never like I never saw it coming. I would go to sleep, I would wake up in the middle of the night with just absolute horrible panic, heart palpitations, sweating. And I remember the first one, man. It was like I woke up at maybe 1 or 2 in the middle of the night. Okay. And I didn't know what was going on. Like I was in what I realize now is a state of derealization, like so stressed out. I felt like I was still dreaming, but I also knew that I was awake. And and that was really scary for me because I didn't know what to do. So I remember I was living at home at the time, and I went to my dad. I like woke my dad up. I'm like, Dad, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm freaking out. Like I must have had like a horrible dream that escalated into like I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And you know, he was a psychologist for 25 years, so he was able to kind of calm me down, get me back, you know, to a resting state. Just I ended up going back to sleep, and but from that day on, man, I was kind of aware of like, what if that comes again? What if I wake up in the middle of the night again? And so, you know, it happened over and over again. I went to the doctor, and the doctor prescribed me Lexapro. Now, Lexapro did help me in that time, and I'm not pro or against medication for anxiety. I think you need to do your own thing, choose what is the best route for you, and I truly believe that. Now, I was on Lexapro for a year or two, and while it did help, it did also cause me some side effects. And one of those side effects was my inability to really express emotion, and then a few other side effects that I didn't enjoy either. So later down the line, it kind of led to that dizziness and faintness because I actually went cold turkey uh, a month before I started experiencing those other debilitating symptoms. I said, you know what, I'm good. Like, I'm not getting these panic attacks anymore. Like, let me go ahead and jump off of this. But that was maybe not the best way to go about it. And I don't ever recommend anyone going cold turkey off of any medication if you can help it. So yeah, that's when I started experiencing those other symptoms that really, really scared me, and they kind of put me into a state of hyper awareness. You know, like I love playing sports. You know, I'm a PE teacher, a football coach. Like sports is kind of the thing that makes me the most happy and gives me the most, what's the word for it? Purpose in life in a lot of ways. So, you know, I'm playing basketball one day and all of a sudden I feel dizzy. And I feel like it's not like the dizziness where like the room is spinning or I feel like I'm going to hit the ground right away, but I felt like I was walking on clouds a little bit, you know, and that was kind of weird to me, you know. One thing that I did for a long time as an adult was I smoked marijuana, and that was something that I did for multiple years, a long time. And so I made this connection in my brain that it must be from that. I must be experiencing dizziness and this because of that. And, you know, long story short, that's definitely not the case. You know, I just had a lot of anxiety from a lot of the habits that I had in life, a lot of the thought processes I had in life, not feeling like I was doing the right things in certain aspects of my life, even though I had a great education, a great friend base, good relationship base, good family. There was always something more I needed or wanted. So I was always kind of in my head without knowing it. So, so yeah, I mean, and so cycling up to that point, when I started getting dizzy, I started feeling faint. I got all the testing done. I remember my friend invited me to his house it's in Virginia. I live in Virginia, and we went up to. I was going to go up to the mountains to visit him. Now, I'm not a big fan of heights. Okay, and I don't like driving when I'm like going up an incline or going up a mountain. I definitely would never skydive or anything like that. But who knows? Maybe now. You never know. But anyway, I'm going up this mountain. I just down 300 milligrams of a Monster Energy drink. Probably not a good idea. All right, and this was a day after I got my COVID vaccination. This is February the 8th. Okay, so I'll never forget that day. I'll never ever forget that day, man. February 8th, 2021. Okay. I was going up to visit my friend to watch the Super Bowl. All right. And so when I'm going up the mountain, I start to get that panic. That adrenaline kind of started pumping a little bit. My hands got super, super sweaty. And I'm like, okay, because in the past I've done this kind of thing and it's come and gone really quickly. This time, however, it triggered a massive anxiety attack. At the time, I didn't know what anxiety was. I did know that was probably what I was experiencing. However, my hands, they would start to go a little bit numb. My face went a little bit numb, and I'm like, oh gosh, man, I'm going like 70 miles per hour up a mountain, trying to get to my friend's place to have a good Super Bowl weekend at a ski resort. All right. And, I ended up making it up the mountain. I'm in a complete state of, you know, shock essentially. Like you got your fight or flight, and then you got your freeze and fawn. And after some research, weeks and weeks later, I can pretty much tell you I was in the freeze mode completely. And that was really scary to me. It was really scary to me because I couldn't really react to anything. I was just very in a state of shock and just scared. So I get up to the mountain. I'm talking to my friend. I'm like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to enjoy this weekend. I don't know how you're going to get me out of this cottage to go get on skis or a tube or have fun or watch the Super Bowl. I remember like being in that room for 2 or 3 straight days, or in the cottage or whatever, and I didn't want to leave. I had pain behind the eyes. I had a lot of sensitivity to light. Um, I felt a bit nauseous at times too. I remember like watching the Super Bowl wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night, just because the light was bright. I'm like, dude, can you guys please turn that down for now? They're like, what's wrong with you, man? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I really don't know, man. But I couldn't wait to get home. And my thought process was like, all right, I'm going back home. I'm going down a mountain, so I'm gonna get to sea level. I'm gonna relax, and hopefully these feelings will go away. That wasn't the case. I I've already built up a huge level of stress. So that next 3 hours driving back home was the longest 3 hours of my life. I'm in shock again. It feels like I'm in the freeze response. It's like, wow, like I don't know if I'll ever pull out of this. I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's happening. I remember pulling over at a rest stop and calling my dad, just almost crying, like, hey man, I don't know how I'm gonna make it home, but I'll get there. And he's like, well, if you need me to get he's almost 70 years old, by the way. He's 70 now, but back then he was about 68. He's like, if you want me to come up there and get you, I will. I'm like, you might have to, but let me call you at the next rest stop. So I just remember I got behind this 18 wheeler. All right. And this was so that I couldn't see the whole road ahead of me. I couldn't really see the mountains if I kind of positioned my vehicle behind this 18 wheeler. And and so I ended up, making it down to, sea level essentially. I was still in a state of, shock, derealization. Things just did not feel good. Made it back home, and I remember when I got home, I just wanted to lay down. I just wanted to crawl in a ball and lay on the couch and just kind of put a peace sign up to the world for a few days. I was scared to get back in the car and drive even up to the gas station. I was scared to do anything that would get me out of the house for a few days. And I also thought to myself, I was like, I can't let this happen. I am going to have to get in this car and go and do these things because, I can't become that person. Although we don't really have a lot of control at that point. We're just kind of hoping for the best. Um, and at this point, I'm not yet, like teaching full time. So I didn't have a lot to worry about outside of just my part-time job, everyday life. And so I just kind of took it day by day. I ended up hopping back on the Lexapro for a few weeks before I realized that that's not going to really help me. It was just going to be a band-aid to me. I went back to having that feeling of not being able to express my emotions. During that time, my grandmother passed away, and I couldn't even feel anything. Like that was really sad to me because I love that woman and we spent a lot of time together. I mean, at this point it's been 30 years, 31 years I've known her. And that really hurt me to not be able to feel any emotion towards that. Um but anyway, I ended up getting off of that and getting right back into feeling everything, feeling everything. And that's when I started kind of looking for solutions, right? Like I heard about like meditation and breath work and one of your favorites, the Wim Hof method, right? And and that's not for me either because I don't like cold temperatures anyway. And I sure as hell don't like freezing water when I'm in a shower. But sometimes, I might do it every now and then today because I can tolerate that. It doesn't affect me like it could have then. So, I thought about, different tinctures, the CBD tinctures, the CBD balms, the gummies, because at that point, you know, smoking weed was only creating more and more panic attacks. It was something that I used to truly enjoy, but it got to the point where it was one of those things that I just couldn't enjoy anymore. So, I was looking for every other alternative besides medication and that. So in the summer, okay, in the summer, after all of that happened, I finally got my first job teaching. And you know how anxious and excited are kind of the same feelings? Well, I didn't know what to feel. I was just kind of like, I knew that I was supposed to be happy about it. But oh my gosh, man, I was like, this is the same school that I graduated from too. Like I knew everybody there. I still have teachers there that worked there that I had. So it should have been a really good process for me. But but no, it wasn't. My anxiety ramped back up tenfold. And I actually got a job teaching PE and health. Okay. And because I had dizziness and faintness as my main symptoms, being on your feet all day long didn't seem very ideal to me. I was always worried about falling in front of students or even fainting in front of students, although that never happened. I mean, never happened. So I got through with the first 2 weeks of that, and yet I still had those feelings, still had those worries. And I remember a science job inside my school opened up, and they asked me, would I rather take that position because of longevity? They said that the PE position I had there could go away in a year because half of it was virtual academy because of COVID. And I was like, well, does that mean I get my own chair, my own desk, and I don't have to stand up the whole time and play sports all day? Therefore, there's a likelihood I won't be too dizzy or faint. So I ended up doing that, man. I ended up teaching biomedical science along with biology to ninth, 10th, and 11th graders. And that made the anxiety 10 times worse instead of 10 times better because I really didn't have much of an idea of what I was doing. Um, and so I would have all of these labs to set up every day, overwhelming, grading to do. I would have to implement and teach all of this work that I had to study while being heavy in the anxiety cycle beforehand. And it just became really, really tough. And that's when I decided I finally like was looking on YouTube at different places and different people that were kind of feeling the way I was feeling. And I came across your videos. And thank God for that, man, because you were actually breaking down every single symptom in different videos. And I was able to really like understand how to approach these symptoms and get over these symptoms for once and for all. Um, but once I figured out that you actually had a mentorship and you could really work with me one on one and in a community, community atmosphere, I was all for that. Um, and being a teacher, like we only get paid once a month. And at that time, when I was really in need, it was the end of August and I hadn't been paid yet. So I had to wait and wait and wait, weeks on weeks to kind of finally get enrolled in the program. Um, and I was very grateful when I finally did. It was September 25th of 2021. See, I don't forget these things, man.
You
You know,
know,
these
wow, yeah, yeah, September. That sounds right. Yeah, I remember. I remember having those conversations with you. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really worried about not being able to join too because I was seeing that the group filled up. Like the group was filling up. And I was like frantically messaging you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yo, do I still have a spot? Do I still have a spot? Like,
Yeah.
please make sure I can get in this week. He's like, dude, you're okay. You're fine. Like, we've been talking.
You
Like,
you were really
yeah.
committed. That was an awesome part. Like you really were. You're like,
Yeah.
I really want to do it. There's a lot of people that sometimes say that and then like, but you were really on top of it. Yeah. And I really, yeah, it was great, man. Yeah, of course.
And then, when I joined the program, honestly, my anxiety got a lot worse. It got a lot worse for the first, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks because I was really learning how to let things go. We talk about the 5 F's in the group now, right? And fixing was like one of my biggest ones. I always wanted to fix something and fix how I was feeling and get out of that short-term discomfort. And it just never worked really. I would alleviate some pain and some anxiety here and there, but it would just come back and I wouldn't know what to do. And so for the first the 3 or 4 weeks, man, that's when I think my anxiety got the worst because I started experiencing what we call the letdown effect, right, in the group, or just depression in general, right? I was numb. I remember coming home from school one day and talking to my dad and saying, why am I feeling this way? Why can't I feel like any gratitude or happiness for finally having a full time job, coaching football, being, having a career, having a career. Am I depressed? Like, what's the deal? And he's like, no, I went through something very similar when I was your age. You will get through this. You're in a good program now. You're doing well in your life. You're well educated. You got people that love you. Just keep pushing at a time. And my dad was very, very good for me back then. And still is, of course, to this day. But he really helped me get through a tough spot, as did the program. And I remember experiencing those emotions that I've never felt before. I've never felt, longer than like a 5-10 minute period, right? We all get like our heart broken once in a while. We all kind of, have like some thoughts that come up once in a while that we don't really agree with or wonder why we have them. But this was an everyday type of thing. I just remember like my cortisol is what it was so high for so long that, and I loved how you broke this down with Kaylee in one of her videos in your videos. It was like the pendulum swing, like it's up really high for a long, long time, and then it passes equilibrium and comes all the way down. Well, I felt every bit of that on the way down, and it was really scary, man. It was really scary. You get these feelings and you attach a lot of thoughts to them, or you get a lot of thoughts and you attach a lot of feelings to them. It kind of goes both ways, in my opinion, and like obviously like getting on calls every Monday and Thursday and even the Wednesday calls, the Thursday morning calls. I mean, it was at least 4 a week, bro, for me, like for a long, long time. And you get a lot of answers to your questions and you get a lot of solutions to the problems. And one thing I liked a lot about our group was that each coach kind of, it was different, like each coach was different and they brought certain aspects of personality and consistency and, you know like Kaylee is a lot different than Merca, And Caesar's a lot different than both Kaylee and Mirka. And you're different than everyone too. Like you all want the same result for everybody in the group, but there's different ways to go about it. And Mirka, man, she was one of the most helpful coaches to me, as was everyone, to be honest. Kaylee, extremely smart, scientific. She would break it down like so smoothly and calmly to you. But Mirka was just like kicking you in the ass. He's like, listen, you're going to get up and you're going to go and do this. You can't just bullshit all day. You can't just. And then one time, I even told her once before, one of the most important things she ever told me was that if I keep, avoiding things and using the cycle of avoidance, my safe space would get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I actually visualized that happening. And that was something that I just couldn't let happen. So that's when I started really getting up off my ass and making moves. I wanted to quit work. I even asked you, I'm like, I'm like, can I just quit? Like, can I just quit this? Because
I remember that. You asked me before you joined. You're like, should I do this? And I'm like, hold up, no. But I get it.
like, come
We all
on.
had that. I actually did end up quitting work, right? It wasn't the best idea, but I was just so lost. And so it's a natural feeling, right? Like, should I keep doing this? Is this work that's causing this?
Yeah,
Is this helping? Should I take time off? And so yeah, I remember that very well.
yeah. I mean, it was a career that I wanted for years and years now, and I was ready to give it all up because my mindset is like, okay, if I'm experiencing this debilitating stress that is even worse due to the fact that I have to be at work in front of 30 students 4 times a day, every day, and then go to football practice, how am I ever going to get over anxiety? My idea of getting over anxiety is like laying back on like my couch all day and just letting my nervous system heal, like that's actually going to work. Like, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like, okay, if you're getting all ramped up and jacked up, like how are you ever going to come down and get to equilibrium or get to baseline? Like it just made sense to me. But that's obviously not the case. You have to push through the hard times, the most difficult times, because you're retraining your brain to essentially understand that you can get through you can get through anything you need to get through, and in doing so you retrain your brain that you're safe, like I remember i I missed one single day of school during debilitating anxiety. I'm talking panic attacks in front of these 11th graders every single day without them even knowing. And I'm like, no, like I'm not missing a day due to anxiety. I'm not gonna like quit this job due to anxiety. I'm going to show up every day, no matter how I'm feeling, and I'm just going to go through it. And after a while, you just kind of get bored of the feeling. You're like, okay, like you're not going to do anything to me. I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm not going to have a stroke. I'm not going to faint. Um, so you just show up the next day, and you show up the day after that, and and it's a very empowering feeling when you look back and you think of, I came so close to quitting my job to, just getting through every single day. And every day was about survival, Sean. Like the first month or two, it was like literally like survival. Um, One symptom I experienced every day that I didn't touch on was the impending doom in the morning, like that morning anxiety. And oh my gosh, that hits so differently too, man. It's like, because I've never felt that before. And then I started feeling it, and I'm like, what in the world is this? Like, why do I feel like my day is already over before it started? Like your heart's racing, your face is already beet red, you just woke up, you don't know how much sleep you actually got because you're waking up at like 4:30 on the dot every single morning. When I used to be a guy that loved sleeping in. Um, and so I would get to school at 7:25 and leave at 3:30, and I just couldn't wait for that last bell. When I walked into school, I literally had the thought of, I'm walking into jail for the next 8 hours. Like I can't leave. Like this is what I'm subjected to. I was scared to walk to the lunchroom. I was scared to get my picture taken because the auditorium was on the second floor. Like what? The coffee machine. I was scared to go on the coffee machine. I would look out the window of the coffee machine on the second floor and be like, I would have the worst intrusive thoughts in the world. And that is not me at all. I'm like, where did this come from? Like the intrusive thoughts, the negative emotions, derealization, the dizziness, like those were all like, that's tough times, man. Tough times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I bet, man. Like, and curious about actually like what your dad thought in all this, because he's a psychologist, right? Did he know exactly what was going on and stuff, or like how was the process like for him, like watching you go through this? Just curious. I've never really asked you that.
No, yeah, my dad, he went through something very similar when he was about my age. I don't know
Mm,
if he told me that to make me feel better, but it definitely worked a little bit. He just knows that the nervous system can only take so much,
mm,
and when it's when it's been ramped up for so long, essentially it's going to come down. You can only be up high for so long before you end up going too low.
mm,
And he just told me it's important just to take it day by day. And another thing that he taught me as well as you guys is that I can't really put a timetable in recovery. I couldn't do that. And believe me, Sean, like I watched this video you guys put out, the 5 stages of anxiety, and I tried to like follow that to a T. Like, okay, I think I've already been to that stage. This stage is next. Oh wait, I've already touched this, so it's not really in the order I think it's in. So after a while, it's like, whatever. I'm just gonna go day by day, and I'm just gonna like try to live my life to the best I can with anxiety in the background. Um, and that's what you have to do. You literally have to just make your life and living your life more important than how you're feeling. And no one's better at telling you that than Merca is. You
mm.
know, you know, you know, fuck your feelings. Like that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm a teacher. I don't even like using that language, but like that's the truth. You have to really not put your feelings and your emotions on this pedestal that they demand to be on, because in the anxiety cycle, it's imperative that you can't really trust how you're feeling. You just can't. And this is it's a conundrum, man. Like you don't really prepare yourself for this. Like there's horrible diseases like cancer and like heart disease and even like autoimmune diseases that are pretty rough like MS that we learn about, right? We learn about in high school, we learn about, and I teach that as a health teacher. I teach about all that. But we don't talk about nervous system sensitization. We don't talk about not following your thoughts or not accepting your feelings. Um, and that's something that really needs to be taught like before college. It's imperative. I mean, I have so many students today that have 504 plans or um you know other types of plans that inhibit them from doing certain things due to their anxiety. Like please allow him or her to do this because of their levels of anxiety. And it kind of touches my heart that when I see that, because I can really talk to these students about it and feel like I can get something across to them. Um, and especially after the pandemic, I mean, just losing so much interaction with other people in life, or the ability to go outside and do certain things, like we get trapped in our heads. I mean, and that's a sad thing. But as long as you find somebody that has been through it before, that's really the ticket, man. I still work with a one-on-one therapist that's been through it. I work maybe once every month or two, and we just talk about like behavior traits and like also just like what I'm doing in life now, how to improve certain things. I love mindfulness. I love the spiritual approach. I do a lot of meditation because I can now. It feels good. I can really dive into my body and just kind of get that somatic release, and it feels really nice. Breath work's another great thing, but the most important thing is, man, is just if you want to get out of this, you have to find somebody that has been through it. That's really what it comes down to, because you can't. Doctors are great. They're smart people. They can give you any medication in the world and give you good advice, but unless you've been through it yourself, you just can't give the same advice as somebody from our mentorship can.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's so many good pieces you said there. I think one of the biggest things I'd like to see long term, like just in the mentorship, is exactly what you highlighted. There's like more of the education piece. right? Because
Yeah.
if once people fall in, now it's a lot harder to get them out. But I feel like a lot of reasons we fell in was just because we just didn't know. Like I always talk about like how we learn how to like absorb knowledge, but we don't really know the mechanics of the mind, right? Or how to
Yeah.
process or how to like regulate stressful situations or how do you deal with uncomfort. Like I just feel like we never really taught that. It was just more,
Yeah.
just avoid, avoid, avoid. And then we get sensitized and that's all we know. And then it kind of spirals us, right? That's one of the things
Yeah.
I've always felt like that too. I think I'd hope, eventually we'd have that kind of impact. Just in general, Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I hope too. I mean, you know, it's avoid, avoid, avoid. Okay, that makes you feel badly. Don't do it again. Or that makes you feel anxious. Don't put yourself in that situation. But the truth is that you actually have to put yourself in that situation over and over and over again to where it doesn't bother you anymore. Like it can be anything. It can be anything in life. You just have to be willing enough to do that, to do whatever makes you feel uncomfortable because one of the biggest staples we're taught in this program is to learn how to be comfortable while being uncomfortable, like being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And I preach that to my football players. I preach that to, a lot of my friends that are going through hard times or family members that are going through hard times. Not long after I fell into the cycle, my sister fell into the cycle. I wouldn't say at the level maybe that I experienced. But I remember sitting up late at night showing her your videos, man, and showing her like Merca's recovery story, Kaylee's recovery story, like Shiv's, Caesar's, like, and she's like, oh my gosh, like this really does help, and knowing that you're not the only one is super super important because when you do put yourself on an isolated island like that, like oh man, I'm the only one experiencing this, then the likelihood of it affecting you even more is much greater. But there is a way out. Like there is a way out, and I remember like, and I've watched some of your other videos and people even saying this, but I didn't know who to trust at the beginning, Sean. Like, because you're in such a state of fear that you don't really trust anything. You can't even trust yourself. Um, so when someone tells you, "Hey, I can really get you through this issue you're having. I can really alleviate these problems you're having. I can really get you to see the bigger picture." The first thing you're thinking is like, "Okay, well, just like please, please, please help me." But in the back of your mind, you're like, "This it's not going to work. Like it's not going to work." Like I remember waking up one night or waking up from a bad dream one morning, like 2 weeks into the program, and I'm like, are you sure this is the guy to listen to? Are you sure this is the program for me? Like, I mean, it just seems too good to be true. And because you're feeling worse to begin with because you're really releasing all of these avoidance um techniques that you've been learning for so long. Like for instance, like me being a PE teacher, like avoiding teaching PE in the gym and taking the science job. Like why did I ever do that? And the good news about that is, as you already know, I think, I ended up taking a PE job 5 months later at a rival high school across the city, and it's been the best year of my life, like absolute best year of my life, even with anxiety in January and February and March. Um, Not nearly as high as it was to begin with, of course, but now I'm playing sports every single day. I'm back into basketball. I play basketball almost every single day. Play with my high school kids, and now I'm a middle school teacher. So I play with my middle school kids every day. I'm playing ultimate frisbee. I'm playing volleyball. We're teaching a volleyball unit right now, and it's just so rewarding. It's just so rewarding because um, I know I'm a great teacher, and I know these kids are learning, and I'm showing up to work every single day. I've still only missed one day in the last year and a half, and it's not that people need to take time off. I'm not preaching you don't need to take time off, but I just enjoy coming to work. Not even a year ago, like less than a year ago, I called school jail. Like I didn't want to be there. I'd worked so many years of my life to become a teacher, and I hated being there. And now I'm like, I almost want to be there longer sometimes. Not that I want to work longer and not have personal time, but I go to school and then I go and coach football. And now the football season's over, I'm going to coach some girls basketball. Like, I just want to be a part of things and I enjoy it. And I want to be around sports because it's my passion. Whereas a year ago, I pushed everything away. I'm a big weight room guy. I was scared to do power cleans because of how it made my body feel. Like it would just jack me up. Um, and now I'm working out as much as I can, Like I'm doing cardio one day and then I'm doing weights the next. I still do mindfulness at night. I hop on 2 calls a week. Like I'm staying consistent with everything in my life. I'm changing my diet. Like I couldn't imagine like the whole thing of it gets better and better and better being true. I thought that there was going to be, extreme sensitization and then just the symptoms in the background and you're just kind of living life to the best of your ability. But no, man, it just gets so much better and better and better with consistency, awareness, and just your want to get out there and live. That's what it comes down to. And after a while, the symptoms stop impressing you. Like I'm you're less and less fearful of them. And yeah, like it's just great. Life's so much better now. It's so much better now, and you develop this like resilience in life, like overall. Like you always talked about having an unfair advantage, right? And at the time, it made sense too, but until you're living it, it wouldn't make complete sense. And now it's like you can take whatever is thrown at you and just be like, oh, okay, well, let's keep doing what we're doing. Like cool, like no big deal. And I mean, hey, man, I'm showing living proof of that this program works amongst many other people that have recovered and other videos and other like seeing that on platforms all across. But it's been a great journey, man, and I still want to be consistent with everything in my life, and this program has really showed me a way to do that.
Dude, that's absolutely amazing, man. It's so amazing to watch. Just like I said, because I remember our first call. I remember, man. And like it's just one of those things. You see people's like personality come like as they start getting better, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, so this is really how Calum is, Like it's just like when you're in that state, even when I was in that state, I just was unrecognizable. And it's just like
yeah.
true personality kind of comes out as you get better. Yeah, man,
Mm.
that's amazing. What would you I mean, you said so many good things, but I might as well just ask again. Like, what is something you would tell somebody who's like right now going through the thick of it right now that really just feels like they're stuck? Maybe Callum, like at the lowest point. What would you tell that person if they were watching right now?
I would tell that person first and foremost, as I said earlier, to find somebody to help guide them, somebody that's been through exactly what they're going through. Okay, because when we try to deal with everything to ourselves, if we have too much, sometimes an inflated ego, and we think we can get through it just by ourselves, and it shows weakness. It may show weakness if we don't. Don't believe that. Find somebody, find a program that you can insert yourself in that has not only like a one-on-one approach, but also like a community atmosphere, like Bye Bye Panic did for me, and trust that person because right now you can't trust anything you're thinking. You can't trust, you know, people that haven't been through it. Find somebody that can really help you. And there's a few other pillars that I've always thought about, like to 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 really kind of get through the hard times. And number one, that's don't follow your thoughts. Okay, like if you follow your thoughts, especially your negative thoughts, it's going to create negative feeling, negative emotion, and you're really just going to continue believing that. All right, that's number one. Number two is don't constantly seek reassurance from other people when you're. This is more so, I think, after extreme sensitization, like after you've gotten a little bit better. Don't continue doing that, right? When you're in the program, trust, start to believe in yourself a little more. But as far as right now, in a tough spot, find somebody that can really help you and guide you through this process. That's first and foremost. And also, just never lose the faith, never lose the hope, because this is just this is your body, this is your mind. It's essentially playing tricks on you. This is not who you truly are. Okay, come from a place of love, not fear, and just trust that it will get better. Because, you know, at my worst, I always did hold on to that faith. I always did have that hope, and it really did propel me to better and better and better days. Um, and yeah, like I said, just being a part of this program, Bye Bye Panic, it's been such a ride, man. Like the amount of like help you get through videos, the way you're able to connect in the community chat, on the in the mentorship, and even out of the mentorship in the free group, like so helpful. Oh my gosh. Being able to come on calls and be open and be able to be speak your truth, whether you're sad, scared, upset, happy. I mean, at one point I just started coming on just to give a bunch of wins, and that's what you have to look forward to. You just have to remember that this too shall pass. This too shall pass, this tough time. And you will recapture, your identity in your life. It just takes time, it just takes time.
Dude, awesome, man. Like awesome wisdom. Obviously, the mentors were like, yo, bring Calum on, like let him chat. This is exactly why, dude. This has been absolutely amazing. Yeah, you've
Thank you.
just brought up so many good things, dude. Anything else you wanted to share before we really wrap up? I mean, you gave so much, but feel free. Like, anything else you'd like to add?
Man, anything I would like to add? I would just say, there was a point, right, where I was asked a question in this group by other mentors, like, and I've seen other people being asked this too. It's like, looking back on it, are you glad this happened? Are you glad this happened to you? And for the longest time, Sean, like even 6 months in, 4 months in, whatever, I'm like, I'm getting better. I see the positives, but nah, like I'd much rather have not gone through this. But sometime later, I really do like. I'm very, very grateful for it. Did I enjoy it? No. Like, was it fun to feel that way for so long? No. But if it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be this aware of myself. I would have kept using avoidance techniques in a multitude of areas in my life. I would have probably continued the bad habits that kind of plagued me as an adult, right? And now that I'm aware of everything due to just actually feeling all of it, right? Just feeling all of it, processing everything, really diving into um why I felt the way I felt. And that's not very important to begin with, so don't worry about that. But it's just like you really start to understand yourself in a much better light. And you develop, I said earlier, this resilience to you where everyday stress is just it's almost laughable. It's almost laughable. Like it really is. Like there's so many things that other some of my colleagues get frustrated about, right? That it's just like, oh my gosh, really? Like we're good. It's all good. And my family, like I'm able to like really talk people through things, whether it's friends, family, like, and that's another thing is like I have so much empathy now, and I did before, but like I can really relate to people on different levels now, and really aid that helping hand, because I'm a teacher, man. That's like in my DNA. I want to help others, and kind of going through this helped me find a lot of my purpose in different areas of life. So, um, but yeah, I mean that's about all.
Sorry, I was on mute. Bro, it's so well said. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, dude. So, dude, thanks again, man, for hopping on this channel and sharing your story. For everyone that's staying tuned, I really hope this was helpful. And Callum, appreciate it again, man.
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah. See you guys in the next video.